So it's one of the older routines. Um, if you've been studying Qigong and Qi elements for a while, you'll realize that it's been combined with other routines. Uh, the 8 pieces of brocade, the 5 animal sports, the 4 seasons Qigong. Um, so at some point, somebody decided that the two routines would go together well, because the 6 sealing sounds and the other routines originated at different times and were not together. I mentioned that the routine is very flexible. You can use the sounds individually. If you have like lung congestion, you could use the lung sound just by itself. Or you can use all 6 sounds as a comprehensive set. As we go through the class, we're going to see that the routine can be enhanced with additional elements to it. So first we have just, the sound and the organ. Then there's also positions of the mouth and tongue while you make the sounds. There are visualizations of the qi exiting from different parts of the mouth. And there is a musical tone that can be added to make the sound the pitch of the corresponding tone. And then there's also the body movements that can be added, not like in 8 pieces of brocade. I mean specific body movements just for the 6 sealing sounds routine. So we will go through those as the class goes on, and then you can decide, since not everything works for everybody, you can decide what you like to include when you do the routine, and things you might want to leave till later or not do at all. The number of repetitions depends on how your organ feels. So if you're doing a complete routine, then you probably want to do the same number of repetitions for each organ. And some people say like the minimum is 3 repetitions. And I think that's too few. I would say 6. And then in increments of auspicious numbers, such as 12 and multiples of 3 and multiples of 8 and multiples of 12. The numbers range up to 36 repetitions. So if your organ is feeling like it's under attack or ailing, you can increase the number of repetitions up to 36. Remember that the sounds are made subvocally, which is, this Chinese saying is the sound of no sound, but subvocally to keep the vocal cords in the throat relaxed. So if we tense up the throat, it's going to block the release of the stale qi out the mouth that we're trying to achieve with the use of the sounds. Now I find, and maybe it's just me because I'm not much of a singer, but when we try to add the pitch, it becomes more difficult for me to relax the vocal cords. But if somebody is more confident and experienced with their singing, maybe it won't be hard for them to make the correct pitch. All right. So let's go through the basic version of making the sound while focusing on the organ, trying to feel the sound resonate in the organ, and try to imagine the release of stale chi from the organ into the surrounding tissues and also out the mouth. I probably mentioned last week about the increasing research being done on the interstitial tissues that fill the space around the organs. And normally their function is to conduct heat. Usually the problem with organs is they get too young or too hot. So the interstitial tissues function to conduct the heat and stale chi away from the organs so that they remain cool, a proper, so to speak, operating temperature. But in the modern lifestyle, when we get so tense and we don't move enough, then the interstitial tissues will kind of congeal to the organ and will make it difficult for the interstitial tissues to perform their function of cooling the organ, and also end up trapping chi and blood. When chi and blood get trapped, then also the problem of cell replacement going wrong arises. And when cell replacement goes wrong, one of the effects is the formation of tumors. So if we keep the interstitium relaxed, it can do its job of conducting the heat away from the organs and allowing the chi and blood to flow more freely again. Okay, so the order in which we do the sounds comes from the 5 elemental phases theory. And the cycle of the so-called mother cycle of one energy generating the next. So lung energy, which is metal, generates water. Well, imagine if a piece of metal is cold, or if you have like a metal drink container or can even, take it out of the refrigerator, moisture will condense on the metal. So think of that as the connection. Then water generates wood. So the lung metal generates kidney water. Kidney water generates liver wood. So trees need water to grow. Okay, so there's your connection between kidney water and liver wood. Liver wood generates heart fire, wood burns. So heart fire generates spleen earth. Is it just like forest fires help renew the forest? Ashes merge with the soil and enrich the soil. So heart fire generates spleen earth. And then our 6th organ is a triple burner, and it doesn't fit into the 5 elemental phases. So we usually preserve that one for last. The idea being that we loosen up all the internal parts, the triple burner here. We loosen the internal parts up, the heart, the lungs, liver, spleen, etc. Then we loosen up the outer package so that the whole thing can relax and release the energy. So I've seen versions of the 6 sounds that start with different organs other than the lungs, which is what we'll start with. But they follow that mother cycle of the 5 elemental phases so that each organ is the generator of the following organ and its energy. Okay, so the lung sound is like air leaking from a balloon. Written SI, and you could probably add a whole bunch of more I's at the end of that. It's a long sound. When we make the sound, we do slow, even breathing, and we use return to childhood breathing. You can use reverse breathing, but it's difficult to do it correctly without causing chi stagnation. So it's better for, in the beginning at least, to use the return to childhood breathing. So we focus the mind on the lungs. And so they are, this area. Then we breathe into the lungs. Imagine the air we breathe in through the nose, filling the lungs. So we're doing deep breathing, but not to the point of filling the lungs to 100% of capacity, so 70 or 80% of capacity. Mind is in the lungs, and then we make the healing sound. So imagine the energy dispersing from the lungs into the interstitium, and also stale energy flowing out through the mouth. So you want to feel like the sound is resonating in the organs and the surrounding area and causing the release of energy in the area and also up the throat and out the mouth. Okay, so let's do 6 repetitions of the lung sound. Let's breathe into the lungs. Feel fresh, clean air filling the lungs. Breathe out, making the healing sound. Feel the release of energy. Inhale and exhale. In and out. In out. In out. In out. One more. In and out. Okay. Questions or problems with that one? I'm going to go to gallery view so I can see if anybody's flagging me for questions. Oh, okay, I don't see any hands raised. All right. So now we'll go to the kidneys. Lung metal generates kidney water. So you know where the kidneys are? It's about elbow level on your back, right under your diaphragm, one on each side of the spine. Kidney sound is chwe. Now, we're going to find that over the millennia that the 6 sealing sounds have been in existence. Some people have tinkered with the sounds a bit, and we're going to eventually use some of those variations on the sounds. So for now, let's just do chwe. Later on, we'll make this sound longer and add different positions of the tongue, mouth, and teeth with the sound. Again, you can decide for yourself which way you like best. Okay, chwe. Breathe into the lungs. Breathe out from the lungs. Chwe. Breathe in through the nose and feel the air filling, not lungs, kidneys, sorry, filling the kidneys. Breathe out from the kidneys. Inhale into the kidneys. Exhale. Breathe in, fill the kidneys. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in and out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And one more. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay. Any questions or problems with the kidney feeling and the kidney sound?
I have a question.
Yes.
Wouldn't it take longer to fill up the kidneys than the lungs? In other words, you know, when I am visioning the whole process, it just seems like it would take longer to go, the air to go to the kidneys.
Yeah, particularly in the beginning when you're trying to visualize how that would feel, because the air filling the lungs, I mean, that's totally something you do 10,000 times a day. But air filling the kidneys, so that's a new feeling that probably takes more focus and time to imagine.
Because I'll start and you're already exhaling, and I go, I'm just starting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So with practice, you'll have more of the sensation of, oh yeah, I can breathe right in there to the kidneys right away. But it's the fact that it's an unusual exercise that you have to say, where's my feeling? Where can my mind locate the kidneys? and breathe into them. Other questions? Okay. And we'll go now to liver. Kidney water generates liver wood. Liver sound is shoo, shoo. And it's written XU in pinyin. So, and our liver is now, I'm reversed image here. So on my right side here, liver is like here. So we're breathing into this area right below the rib cage and the diaphragm. Well, actually, I think it's maybe up a little bit above the bottom of the rib cage. Right below the diaphragm is the liver. So we breathe into the liver. Exhale and make the shoo sound. In. In. The air filling the liver. In. 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 Sometimes an organ will feel differently than other organs feel. It might feel heavy. It might feel hot. It might feel stiff. Or tense. And when you continue practicing Qigong and achieve the Kung Fu of internal vision, you'll notice such things. Like maybe you breathe into the liver and you feel that the doesn't feel like the air wants to flow through the whole liver. Now I realize we're not actually breathing into the liver, but we are. With that breathing in imagery, we are bringing fresh qi into the liver. So you might feel like, oh, it feels tight or it feels stiff. And that could be an indication of some dysfunction of the liver. So if you feel something like that with an organ, maybe that you should do the organ qigong and the organ sound more frequently, and think about the things that might be causing issues with the organ, such as diet, for one thing. Of course, liver, famously, it's alcohol and other toxic substances. So People who've been exposed to toxic substances, because the liver filters the blood, right? Toxic substances can accumulate there. And also emotions. In the liver, the emotions are anger and frustration. So some people, I wonder, like, how do they even live with their liver if they're angry all the time, or frustrated all the time? Yeah, so with the different organs, I shouldn't have mentioned that the lungs, it's sadness and grief. And interestingly, pessimism. Pessimism is considered in traditional Chinese view as akin to grief and sorrow. And I know that people can be pessimistic, think, oh, I'm not sad or sorrowful or grieving. The pessimism has kind of the same effect. And maintaining a positive outlook really helps your health overall. Kidneys, anxiety or fear, the emotions. All right, from the liver. Liver wood generates heart fire, and the heart sound is like a dog panting, not but just one pant. Okay. So imagine breathing into the heart, filling it with clean energy, clean air, and breathing out. It would be written as H-E, and add an H for pronunciation. It's not he, it's H-E-H or H-E-E-E-H. So let's do 6 rounds of the heart sound. Inhale and fill the heart. Exhale. In. 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 And does anybody have any questions or feelings or other things to ask or share about the heart? Okay.
How many do you suggest doing? 6 at a time?
Yeah, minimum of 6. Depending on how much time you have, how much you like the routine. But yeah, I'd say at least 6. And if you're doing it for an organ by itself, like right now, the liver in the spring season, or if you have some hangover from the winter and fall season with lung congestion, you could again, do more, up to 36 repetitions. All right. And heart fire generates spleen earth. Oh, spleen is over here. So this is my left side. So you want to imagine like breathing in to this area on the spleen is not as big as, say, the liver. And so it's kind of on the edge here of the abdominal wall, below the diaphragm. So if we bring our mind's attention into the spleen and imagine breathing into the spleen sound is who, written as H-U, pronounced just like the word who, as in who's on first. Who. Okay, so breathe into the spleen and breathe out. Breathe in, out. In, 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 one more, in, Okay, so any problems, questions, feelings? All right.
Roger, what does Qigong say about, as a nurse, we had a number of people, almost everyone who's in a bad car accident with internal injuries, their spleen gets removed. I mean, that's basic because it bleeds.
Yeah.
And they can do fine without a spleen for the rest of their lives. But is the chi organ still there? That's kind of what I understood, was that the chi organ would still be there, even though the physical one was gone.
Yeah, that's what I think. Of course, the function goes on. When we think of the organ's function in Qigong, in traditional Chinese medicine, it's much broader than the organ's function in Western medicine. So this function goes on. But fortunately, I have no experience with losing an organ, so I can tell you from feeling. But yeah, I know that people have spleen removed, they have gallbladder removed, and I wonder in these cases what results might occur from having an organ removed, because the organs in traditional Chinese medicine have a psychological function too. The gallbladder is the supposedly is the power of action, the power of decision. So if somebody has a gallbladder removed, do they become like wishy-washy and indecisive? Or does that function get taken over by something else? The spleen is the home of the yi, which is supposed to be intelligence. Of course, we know the brain functions in that way too. So I don't know what results might happen from somebody losing the organ. And sometimes you think, well, these psychological functions of the organs like seem a little mysterious, questionable maybe. Oh, well, sometimes we can feel like the heart, joy and love in the heart, sadness in the lungs. Yeah, maybe you can feel like, yeah, we got, in other cases, you wonder like the gallbladder and the power of decision. So, but anyway, yeah, the spleen is one of those strangely dispensable organs. Unlike, well, you can lose, I guess, one kidney or part of a lung or, I don't know, part of the liver, but you can't lose the whole thing. So you can't function without those. But it's interesting that the spleen seems to be non-essential. Okay, now we go to the triple burner. And we don't have an energy connection because the triple burner is not one of the yin organs included in the, actually triple burner is a yang organ, first of all, fu organ. And is considered a special organ in any case. But we might be thinking in modern times that the triple burner could be the interstitium, and having the function of helping to cool the heat and release the stale qi from all the internal organs. The triple burner sound is she, written xi, pronounced like she, she with the long e, she. So imagine breathing in through the nose and filling the whole triple burner. So that's like your whole torso. But don't tense up. We fill, that we don't feel to the point of tension and bursting. Then exhale and and we'll do 6 times. Let's breathe in. 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 One more. In. All right. Any comments, questions, feelings? No. Okay, that's the basic. Basic being you feel the organ, you breathe into the organ, you make the sound, you feel the sound resonate in the organ, you feel the release of energy and perhaps some heat. And you do 6 or more repetitions. And let me check the time. I don't have it on the, okay, later than I thought. I don't have it on my screen since I have a large screen. So, now we get into the enhancements. And as I mentioned, the position of the tongue and the mouth, the teeth, so sometimes, oh, well, the mouth in terms of how wide open is it, or slightly open, or more widely open, for example, for the heart, more widely open. Tongue, like some of this, for some of the organs, the tongue is lightly touching the bottom of the front teeth. In others, it just lies flat. And then the position of the lips. So for example, when we make the shoe sound for liver, we want to form the mouth in the U shape, but still slightly open. So when we try those, you want to pay attention to how it feels when you do the facial positions. Let's just call this facial, even though it's tongue, teeth, and lips. Facial positions, the expressions that we use with the sounds. So for example, lungs, align the top and bottom teeth, slight opening between them. Tip of the tongue placed lightly on the front bottom teeth. And then we make the sound. So teeth slightly open and lined up. Tip of the tongue and the bottom placed lightly at the bottom of the front teeth. So we still want to inhale into the lungs and visualize the release of energy when we make the sound. In and out.
It's like having a lisp, you mean?
It is kind of like, yes.
That's hard for me.
Yeah, so I'll show you all the different variations during the course of the class series, and then you'll get a handout as well that describes them. But probably you want to gradually build up to seeing what you want to add and what you don't want to add. But that's the position of the tongue. and teeth with the lung sound. Now, actually, that for me, I feel quite a bit of difference with those three sounds. Lungs, my lungs feel more, feel cleaner and more emptied than they did with just the sound. So, with the kidney sound, we have 3 steps to making the sound. So with the tip of the tongue inside the top teeth, we make the chue, chue, chue. We'll begin the chue, 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 chue. And then we allow the tongue to relax and make an ooh sound. So tip of tongue behind the front teeth for and then drop the tongue, let it relax for and then pull the mouth back a little and put the bottom of the tip of the tongue on the front bottom teeth and make the A sound. So our chue sound is now morphing into a sound chue, 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 a. We'll work on this next week. Liver shoe. Open the mouth slightly. Allow the tongue to lie flat. Teeth are slightly apart. At the end of the shoe sound, we form our lips into a U shape, curling up slightly the corners. Shoo, 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 like that. Now, right away, you probably notice that you're trying to do the facial expression. Your mind's up here trying to do the expression instead of down in the liver. So it takes a while to first get accustomed with the feeling of the sound in the organ, and then to add the facial expression. The heart, mouth opened wide, well, wider than with the liver, but not so wide as to cause the throat to tense up. So, tongue touching the bottom of the front teeth. And if you can imagine this, tongue lightly touching the bottom of the front teeth and also feeling a little bit the tongue pulled back. So mouth open more widely than with the other sounds. Tongue lightly touching the bottom of the front teeth. Tongue slightly pulled back. Okay, so does that change the feeling here? For me, it does, So I feel more release with that. And the spleen, round the lips, push them slightly forward. triple burner sound. Pull the mouth back slightly, but keep the lips flat. So no curl up like with shoo. Tongue lightly touching the bottom of the front teeth. All right, so that's a preview of next week. And I think probably first we'll go through the regular way, the simple way, and then practice with the lips, tongue, and mouth position. We get comfortable with that, then there is the tone. And last, I think we'll end the class series with several lessons on the use of the body positions. Okay.